Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lesson 10 of our 12-week Financial Wellness Boot Camp. My name is Bill Quinn. I'm really looking forward to being with you today. As you can see by my slide, we here at Walio, I'm a local financial professional, and we here at Walio think that the education and the services that the wealthy take advantage of should be available to everyone. Everyone needs a financial education. We learn in our lives how to go out and make a living and earn money, but very few people get a chance to learn what to do with it after that. We're told to put in a bank, we're told to do a lot of different things, but to plan properly for your future so you can have a better life, there are some strategies and there are some things that you really need to learn, and they're just not, unfortunately, not taught in our schools, and they're not made mainstream. We here at Walio, we're changing that. We're trying to make it available to everyone, so everyone can have a good, prosperous life and take the worry out of their money issues. So let's take a look at the progress with our financial boot camp. You can see we talk about today, tomorrow, and the future. We're in lesson 12, maximizing your retirement income. I want to thank Matt and Jordan for doing such a phenomenal job in the first 8 lessons. Did some phenomenal information. Hopefully everybody was on board for those lessons, and we're working to complete the full 12-week boot camp, because that's where the real benefit is going to be there for you. Today, tomorrow, and the future, you've completed 9 sessions, learned how to budget, learned how money grows, how to eliminate the money leaks, getting yourself out of debt, which is so important to then being able to start building your wealth. Building an emergency fund, of course, is first and foremost to take some of the stress out of life. I hope you're starting to think about how to protect your income and everything you worked hard, and get ready and start thinking beyond your tomorrow. Start thinking about your future. After today's lesson, we only have 2 lessons left. I'm super proud of everyone for making it this far. You're in the right place, and you're certainly on track for a better financial future. So in a previous lesson, I recommended a plan, the same spendable income that you have today, be able to maintain that in the future. The challenge that we see today is so many people are living for the moment, and they're not planning or preparing for the future. And once again, they're going to have that 60% shortfall. This is not a good situation to be in. I can honestly say a good portion of my generation is very, very underfunded in their retirement accounts, and their biggest concern is running out of money. On the other end of the spectrum, a lot of younger people are realizing this, and they're going to the opposite end of the spectrum. They're giving up their lifestyle today so that they may be able to retire earlier in the future. This is the FIRE movement, the Financial Independence Retire Early group, where they're saving about 75% of their income right now so that they can retire early and enjoy the future. And I commend that, but at the same time, life is all about experiences and memories, and you shouldn't necessarily short yourself those opportunities if they come along just because you're so focused on making sure you can retire early. We here at Walio believe in a balanced lifestyle. Plan for the future so that you feel safe and secure, but enjoy life at the same time. We've only been given one life, as far as I know, and you might as well enjoy the time you have here, because it goes by fast. Trust me, and the older you get it, the faster it goes. So before we look at some of the solutions to protect and maximize your retirement income, let me describe a problem that you need to be aware of. And I'll use the S&P 500 index over the last 30 years. You can see this is kind of like a roller coaster. Okay. The S&P 5 index is the 500, largest companies at any given time. And it's a really a great benchmark for how the markets are doing. And so this is real life. This is a real life chart from the S&P 500 over the last 30 years. March 2000, the dot-com bubble burst. Markets crashed. From 2003 to 2007, the housing bubble increased, and then what we call the Great Recession happened, and it tanked over here. And Now we've been on the best run ever. We actually hit market highs again yesterday, over 30,000 in the Dow. And what do you think is going to happen next? I mean, let's face it, there's a whole lot of ups and downs along these roads here, but it's these big downs that cause so many problems. I know a lot of people that were trying to retire here, couldn't retire anymore, stayed in the workforce for another 10, 12 years. You would think that they would be back to even like right here, but that's not the case. A lot of people have still not recovered, even with the incredible market run that the market's been on. Also understand that this market's been driven by a lot of stimulus money, a lot of printed money from the government. Sooner or later, as the debt grows, the debt's going to have to be paid. And that can cause a major calamity in the markets as well. So keep that in mind, that what goes up does come down, and you want to learn the strategies and the things necessary to take advantage of the upticks, but avoid those downturns at all costs. So here's our buddy Sam. Retire safely, but in the wrong time. So Sam was in from our lesson 8. He's a simple guy, frugal country boy, loves his truck. Sam was investing in an IRA, and he had accumulated $500,000, as you can see here. Sam quit his job. He claimed his Social Security. He relocated into Florida and started taking safe $25,000 a year withdrawals. He kept his IRA investments in the S&P 500, which is this chart right here, because it was working well for him. It worked well for him previously. Should he only know what's going to happen next? And in just 3 years, his $500,000 turns into $248,000. Half of his life savings gone in just 3 years. Sam, started learning how markets work and found the markets always come back, so he kept his money in there. Markets did start coming back. In a few years, he's back to like 254,000. But here again, this is what I'm talking about. Over here, he was 500,000. It looks like he should be back at 500,000, but he's only back up to 254,000. And then the boom drops all the way to $141,000 of his nest egg is left, and he's still got a good 20 years of retirement left to go. This is the biggest concern of most Americans over 50. If they have the money, are they going to outlive it? Are they going to be able to help make it last? And according to our research, retirees they're more afraid of running out of money than they are of dying. Can you imagine that? It's the number one fear facing most senior citizens in the United States right now. So what could Sam done differently? Should he keep the money in cash? Let's take a look. So as you can see, cash is not an option. Cash, maybe the safest way. People maybe stick it in your mattress, or hide it under your bed, put it in a box and bury it in the backyard. This is just not a good scenario, because there's a thing called inflation. And what is inflation? Well, it's the cost of things going up on an annual basis. In this particular chart, we're showing that, an average maybe 2.32% per year over 30 years. What can happen to a $500,000 nest egg, and what would $500,000 be worth 30 years from now is only about $250,000. Or to put it in better perspective, with $500,000 back in 1990, you could have bought 39 Ford pickup trucks. But today you can only buy 17. That's crazy. That's inflation. And if your money's not invested, and if your money's not out earning inflation, then your money's going backwards. And so cash is just not a good option. So what else could Sam have done? We're looking for a very safe and secure place for him to hold his retirement savings, remember? And of course, the interest he needs to earn needs to beat inflation. So what about gold? A lot of people talk about, hey, gold is a safe haven. I can put my money there. I can make sure that my money's going to last, because everybody loves gold, right? Well, when the economy is great, stock market goes up, but gold prices go down. When the market bursts, collapses, and the economy starts heading into a recession, gold prices go up. So kind of just the opposite of what's happening in the markets is what's happening with gold. So when the economy is great again, gold prices go down. So what if Sam had invested his money in gold? What if he had decided to retire in 2000? All right. Looking at this chart, would that have been his best decision? As the world's going through the dot-com bubble, and the housing market crashed, gold prices were steadily growing through that whole downturn. The prices were growing so fast. After 15 years, Sam would have had more money than what he started. Sounds great, right? So he started with 500,000. Here he is out here with 750. It is, unless you consider another scenario. What if, he had just, instead of not retiring in 2000, he retired 10 years early in 1990. In that 12-year span, look what happened to gold prices. Dropped almost consecutively year over year for 10 straight years. The problem is that it's absolutely impossible for anyone to set aside, poor Sam predicted where the economy, he couldn't predict where the economy was going to go and where the markets were going and where prices were headed. Stocks are too risky. Gold is obviously risky. It's a timing thing. And not everybody can time and understand what's going to happen in the markets, even on a day-to-day basis. So is there any other place that's safe that maybe Sam could be putting his money, but it's still beating inflation? What about bonds? Everybody's heard of bonds. It kind of is a safe haven for your money. Basically, three kinds of bonds that you can invest in. Some are riskier than others. The riskier ones, of course, pay a higher interest rate. The riskier ones would be corporate bonds, where you're actually, loaning money to a business so that they can do certain things to grow their company or to build their infrastructure or any myriad of things that they could do with the money. So you buy the corporate bonds, and then they're going to give you a certain interest rate as they mature over a certain period of time. Well, why is it risky? Well, because businesses go broke, and it's happened to quite a few. There was corporate bonds that were with Circuit City. Does anybody remember Circuit City? How about Blockbuster or Radio Shack or even J.C. Penney's? All those companies defaulted on their debts and filed for bankruptcy. And anybody who had corporate bonds with those companies was kind of left holding just a worthless piece of paper. So what about munis? This is investing in your community. This should be county, city ordinances and stuff like that need to do improvements, build schools, do those kind of things. And they need the extra money. So they issue municipal bonds. Municipal bonds have some great characteristics. They're kind of middle of the road. They're less risky because they're backed by a city government that collects taxes from their the people that live in their communities. But have cities gone broke? Yes, they have. Just in the recent economic downturn that we had, back in 08 and 09, there was quite a few. Stockton, San Bernardino, Orange County are just a few that I can remember here in California. So you have to understand that even in bad economic times, muni bonds could end up being worthless as well. And then the more safe bonds, of course, is the treasury bonds, the bonds that are issued by the federal government. And why are they safer? Well, simply said, the government can print money. They've been doing a very good job of it for the last 12 years, making us all feel happy about our situation. But any of their debt, that if you were to purchase treasury bonds, you're pretty much assured that you're at least going to get paid back on it, because the government will just print more money to make sure that you do get paid back on it. And because of that, you're going to earn a much lower interest rate with that. So corporate bonds are riskiest, but probably pay the higher interest rate. Munis are kind of middle of the road. They're less risky, but they are at risk. So you're going to get a kind of middle of the road return. And then the government are much more secure because, once again, they can print money to make sure that you get your money back. But you're going to earn a much, much lower interest rate when you invest in the government-backed securities. So what about bond rates? One of the things that's crazy is it really has a lot to do with timing. So remember, Sam retired in 2000, and he was taking about $25,000 a year, which is $500,000 investment. If Sam had invested his $500,000 in the safest possible bonds, treasuries, this chart shows treasury rates for the last 30 years. In 2000, Sam would have gotten around 6%, which means he would have been getting about $30,000 a year, and he would never run out of money. That's a pretty good scenario. But should Sam retire in 1990, he would have gotten an 8% rate of return. Even better. So what about, just 10 years later in 2010, it drops all the way to 2%, and then even down to now where it's at 0.7%. So the timing of when you invest in bonds is absolutely imperative. A 0.7% rate of return on the 500,000 means he's getting $3,500 a year to live on. That's not really going to make for a really, really great retirement or any quality of life for sure. So as you can see, when you retire matters a lot. If you happen to retire at the wrong time and you select the wrong storage for your money, there's a very high probability you're going to run out of money. Just that simple. Stocks, gold, bonds, real estate, all those other assets you can choose from all fluctuate up and down on a regular basis. And a regular person making the right choices is as good as flipping a coin. But this man, Ray Dalio, right here, is praised as one of the most successful hedge fund managers in the world. He is a financial engineer who employed computers as early as 1970 to analyze the history of money. That's pretty interesting concept. He looked at the history of debt, investments, governments, defaults, all the way back to the Roman Empire to build his investment models. Ray engineered and patented many financial models to grow and protect money over the last 40 years, which generated about 140 billion in assets for his constituents and earned him about $17 billion in net worth. So smart guy. But what does he say? What does he say to most people? He says, I can guarantee you that the assets you choose, and you won't be able to pick the right one, will be disastrous in your lifetime. So whether it's gold, stocks, cash, real estate, there's always a good chance that something's going to cause a problem with it sometime in the future, and you're just never going to be able to predict it. The world is a crazy place. And if a guy like Ray Dalio tells you that, then it's got to be true because he makes a living by monitoring this kind of thing. So what does he talk about? He says, just diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your money out over different asset classes so you can take advantage of the ups and downs of the different markets and learn to capitalize on it. So remember when Sam retired in 2000 and kept all his money in stocks? He would have run out of money. What if he had diversified and put some of his savings in equal portions of stocks, gold, real estate, bonds, and then he also had his cash. For the first 3 years of his retirement, he would use the income generated by the bonds to help him out with his cash and support his lifestyle. So every year bond, he would take $5,000 and he would draw $20,000 from his cash. So let's see how that scenario worked. Let's kind of jump forward 3 years and see what happens. Well, in 3 years, stocks went down, dropped to 62,000. Gold went up, probably because the stocks were down. Real estate at the same time went up, 135,000. His bonds, he's still collecting the 5,000 from that, and of course, he still had $40,000 in cash. His accounts dropped to 455,000. So what does he do? He then looks at this and he says, okay, I'm going to change how I'm taking my money now. I'm going to take 15,000 from real estate since it's up. I'm going to go ahead and start taking 5,000 from my gold, and then I'll still take 5,000 from my bonds, but I'll leave the cash alone in this particular scenario. So let's see how it plays out for the next 3 years. Here we are in 2006, 3 years later. Market started to recover, and Sam made back almost all of his previous losses. Stocks grew to 93,000, but still losing some money overall. The value of his gold investments grew to 156,000. Real estate was up again, 161. Of course, his bonds were there for him to draw money from as well. So, and his account was back up. He was back up at $550,000 and feeling a little bit better about his future. So now he starts taking $10,000 from his gold. Even though stocks are up, they're not back up to where they were before. He continues to take $10,000 from his real estate and then just $5,000 from his bonds. And once again, he leaves his cash alone. So let's jump forward another 3 years, 2009. We all know what happened in 2009. So stocks took a major hit. And of course, because of that, gold skyrocketed. Real estate dropped as well. Major housing bubble crashed. So overall, his account dropped to 543,000, but because his gold did so well, he still had the ability to draw money, his $25,000 a year, from the investments that were still holding true. So he took the 20,000 from gold, 5,000 from bond, and he was still able to maintain himself. That's diversification, guys. That's the importance of spreading out your money over different asset classes, because over time, the ups and downs of every type of market, real estate, investments, commodities, gold, stocks, whatever it is, when some are up, some are down. When others are up, then the others are down. And you can use that as a strategy to make sure that you able to make your money last for a much longer time than if it was just in one particular vehicle. So the point of diversification is not to guess what will work and what will not work over the next year. Absolutely nobody, including Ray, would tell you that they can tell you that that's the way it's going to be. The point of diversification is to eliminate the guesswork, take the stress out of it, and invest in many asset classes. Once again, some will go up, some will go down, but overall, it should grow. And with Ray Dalio's wisdom, once again, I can guarantee you one of those assets, and you won't be able to pick the right one, is going to be disastrous in your lifetime. So a good idea to spread it out over a bunch of different things. So the one thing that will make this is a critical part of the whole success formula is rebalancing. Utilizing rebalancing with diversification can really supercharge this strategy. Once you understand diversification, you start using it. Rebalancing is actually very simple. So let's continue using Sam's example over here. He's got $300,000. And he's decided to diversify his portfolio into 3 different asset classes. So he's going to take the $300,000 and put $100,000 equally in each one of the stocks, gold, and real estate investments. So let's see how this pans out. So the next year, stocks go down. He's lost $20,000 in stocks, but because of that, gold's gone up. So gold's up 130,000. Real estate's gone up to 120,000. He's $30,000 ahead in his overall portfolio, so he's a happy camper. So what does he do to rebalance? Well, he has 330,000 now, so he wants to rebalance that 330,000 over these 3 asset classes, meaning he needs 110,000 each one. So he'll pull 20,000 out of the real estate, put it down here in stocks, takes $10,000 out of real estate and put it in stocks, and he takes $20,000 out of the gold and puts it in the stocks as well, so that you end up in a balanced portfolio with everything at $110,000. Okay, so what happens going forward? Let's say the next year everything goes up, the markets do well, gold is still on the rise, and real estate is still trending high. Since stocks had a major rebound, they're doing better than the gold and the real estate. So what's Sam's strategy for reinvestment? Let's take whatever he has and let's divide it by 3, and let's put it back to where everything rebalances out at $120,000. So let's take the 10,000 out of the stocks, put it back into the real estate. So once again, everything balances out the way it should. This is rebalancing. Very simple strategy, but it's very powerful when you look at it. So what if everything's down? Stock market's down, gold's down, real estate's down. Do you still rebalance? Absolutely. You're going to pull the $10,000 out of your real estate, put it into the stocks. So once again, everything is the same. This is super important because once again, with diversification, you're protecting from the ups and downs, but by rebalancing into and keeping everything the same, you're giving your opportunity to buy things when they're low so that you can ride them back up to their high point. And, it's kind of like whack-a-mole. If one thing pops up, you're gonna knock it down a little bit and transfer some of that energy over to the next one. As that one starts to come up, then you're gonna knock it back down and transfer a little bit over to the next one. So growing versus expensive. Growing is good, but growing also means that assets become expensive. Do you want to buy expensive? No, you don't. You want to sell expensive. A falling asset is bad, but it also means the asset becomes cheap. So do you want to sell cheap or do you want to buy cheap? You want to buy cheap. So when you balance your portfolio, you're essentially selling high and buying low, which is the basic concept of investing. All too often people get emotional about their investments. They're watching the stock market go up and up and up. They wait until the last minute to go ahead and start investing, and then the market tanks and they lose a bunch of money. Um, Most successful investors have always known the best time to invest in a market is after a major market downturn. There were so many buying opportunities after COVID hit back in March. I think anybody who had invested in Tesla could attest to that, because they've done extremely well ever since March of last year, and even with a lot of the other things in the market as well. So more money is made in down markets than in high markets. Just that simple. And putting yourself in the best possible position to take advantage of that is what we're trying to teach you here this evening. So what about auto rebalancing in your 401k plan? I mean, this is just as important, even though it's a company sponsored plan. And I can honestly say most people don't really even understand their 401ks. It's imperative that you start learning about it. It's imperative that you start understanding your investment model, where your money's going, and above all else, the fees that are attached to it as well. So many 401k plans allow you to select different strategies to invest your money into, and you can be conservative or aggressive. When you're young, you've got time on your hands. You've got the rule of 72, the ability to grow money over time. You can weather some market downturns. So you can be a little bit more aggressive. But as you get older, maybe into your 30s and 40s, you're going to want to look at more of a growth model, start getting away from some of the more aggressive things and get more into a growth model. I like this one because this is typically when people have kids and they need to really start focusing on their future. As they get in their 40s and 50s and they're starting to realize, kids are going to be heading out of the door pretty soon, and they got to start thinking about their retirement. They want to get into a balanced type portfolio where they still maintain some growth, but they're starting to eliminate some of the risk and the possible loss moving forward. And then finally, as you're getting close to retirement, you want to move into a conservative basis. The worst thing that can happen to someone later in life as they're about to retire is to have a huge economic market downturn and they end up losing half of their portfolio. That's happened in 08 and 09. It happened earlier this year because of the COVID thing. And it can be devastating to people's morale and their sense of well-being, especially when they're thinking about their future. When you have these kind of plans, you have money invested, you have to understand that you're paying a fee on an annual basis. So if you have $500,000 invested in a 401k or other types of managed funds, you're going to be paying a fee for that amount. It's typically around 1% or $5,000, but there's also a lot of other fees. There's management fees. There's third-party administration fees. If you don't understand your 401k, by all means, get together with someone here at Walio. Let us help you sort it out, because the one thing that's most important to know is your account growing, and is it growing as fast as you need it to reach the number that you need to have when you decide to retire? And everybody should be thinking about that number. They should be thinking about, do I want $1 million? Do I want 2 million? What do I want to have in my retirement accounts when I get to that age where I'm ready to start slowing down and start living life on my terms? So what about when you get to that point? A lot of people nearing retirement, they want to leave all the hassles of money management and the associated stress behind, and they want to settle down. They want to start enjoying life, living life, worry-free and not have to worry about running out of money. So, why did I work so hard all of my life? And, if I do that and I can just get $5,000 a month for the rest of my life guaranteed, then that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Annuity brings that kind of a guarantee. It eliminates the risk of market downturns if it's in an index program. It protects the principal, and it gives you an opportunity to grow your money over time with some of the market growth as well. A little history on annuities. They've been around a long, long time, guys. That's why we got this Roman soldier here in the picture. The word annuity comes from the Latin word annua, which means annual payments. Roman soldiers received lifetime annuity payments as compensation for their service in the military, thousands of years ago. And you can think of an annuity kind of like a private pension plan that provides you a lifetime guaranteed income if you set it up properly. So let's talk a little bit about annuities. What are the benefits? One is guaranteed retirement income. You set up an annuity with an insurance company, and you can put it in the right account. You're going to have guaranteed retirement income for the rest of your life. Even if you outlive the money that you've put in there, the company that you're signed up with is contractually obligated to continue to pay you until you pass away. And that's a pretty good deal. I mean, they're good at, predicting how long people will last, but at the same time, with all the medical advances out there, people are living longer. So I think I would bet on my side on that one. Your money's protected from market loss if it's in index programs. It's protected from, from outliving the retirement income. Like I said, the companies are contractually obligated to continue paying you long after the money runs out. They're tax deferred. So if you're in the accumulation phase, you're putting money into the account, the money gets to grow tax deferred. You don't pay taxes on it until you start taking withdrawals. There's no contribution limit like a 401k or some other vehicles like IRAs. You can put as much money as you want into these things. Provide beneficiary protection. If you set it up properly and you're in retirement, you're getting these guaranteed checks on a monthly or annual basis. And for some reason you pass away, any amount of the money that's in the balance of the account will pass to your heirs, which is a pretty cool thing. And then it's highly customizable. You can set it up to do a number of different things. And I think people like that flexibility when they're putting a plan together for their retirement. So also it has two phases, like I was saying. It has an accumulation phase where you're paying into it, you're letting the money grow. And what's nice is if it's in an indexed account, you can have it grow and not have to worry about any market downturns. So the money will just continue to pile up and pile up and pile up until you move into the annuitization phase where you start taking payouts. And when I talked about the flexibility of annuities, you can take this as a lump sum. You can take this all out at one time, or you can take it out over a certain number of years, or you can say, you know what, I want a lifetime income for myself, or I want a lifetime income for my spouse and myself. If I outlive her, I want her to continue to get paid, or I want to continue to get paid. But if I pass away first, I want to make sure that my spouse is taken care of as well, and she continues to get money as long as she lives as well. So one of the ones that you can do instead of making a bunch of payments is to take a lump sum. If you have a windfall from an inheritance, or if you're nearing retirement and you want to pull out the money that you have in your investments and move it into something that's guaranteed to have some growth and principal protection, then you take a lump sum from your stocks, your gold, your cash, maybe even from your real estate, and you put it into a single premium immediate annuity, earmarked as SPIA. And then typically you can start taking withdrawals after the first year. Annuity payouts until death. You can have it pay out in a number of different ways, but once again, these things are very flexible. You can set up just about any way you want. What's nice about that is when you eliminate all the stress in life and you know you're going to get these guaranteed monthly payments, life gets so much better, guys. Now you can go and enjoy yourself, run around a beach and have a good old time, knowing that every month or every year you're going to be receiving that check, and you're going to be able to create a very good lifestyle for yourself. A deferred annuity means that you're going to put the money in, maybe in a lump sum, and you're just going to let it sit there for a while, let it grow. And maybe you don't need it. Maybe you got it from an inheritance and you want to put it someplace where it's going to be safe and it can grow. Then you can access it later on down the road. If you're saving in a 401k, an IRA, or any other risky asset class, you should pay attention to this annuity more than any other kind of annuity. This annuity, like nothing else, can supercharge your retirement income. And here's how. So you look at 401k best practices. If you're saving for retirement, most likely you've heard of the best practices to avoid critical risk associated with retirement savings. When you're 25 and young, you have your whole life ahead of you, and you can be aggressive. In these particular scenarios, maybe you're getting a 8% rate of return, and this is during your accumulation phase. as you move forward in life, you start getting a little bit older. Like I said, you start moving into a more conservative portfolio, and you may be only earning a 4% rate of return, but realize your accounts are going to be much, much bigger at this point. If you've been doing everything properly, you got the diversification, you got the rebalancing and everything, you may be earning 8% on 20,000, but now down here, you're earning 4% on $500,000. And 4% on $500,000 is a nice chunk of money. And then you got the payout phase where, you could probably have safe annual withdrawals of around 4%. Even says 5% down here. And hopefully then your money never runs out. The amount of money that you have in there always going to play into, what percentage you're going to be able to draw on an annual basis and how long it's going to last. So rebalancing into a conservative mix, controlling your withdrawals, you're maximizing your chances to have enough money throughout retirement. And you're essentially self-insuring yourself from the risk of running out of money, which is, once again, the biggest concern for my generation. So what if you offload that risk on an insurance company? What if instead of self-insuring yourself, you have an insurance company insure your money? What if you can get all the guarantees you're looking for and better interest and even better monthly income? I don't know why you wouldn't do it, honestly. What if instead of 3 or 4%, you're getting 6 guaranteed? And that guarantee is you're never going to lose money as well. What if instead of the 4% annual withdrawal, you get a 6% guaranteed never to run out of money withdrawal, which 6% doesn't sound like much more than 4%, but that's 50% more of your money. So instead of getting $100, you're getting $150. Instead of 100,000, you're getting 150,000 guaranteed. That's pretty impressive, guys. So 6%. Don't think that 1% is a small difference. Over time, it can be a very, very huge difference for a lot of people. So anytime you decide to secure your money, maximize retirement income, usually around age 50 is when people start thinking about these things. You just simply roll over into a deferred annuity and let it continue to grow until you're ready to take the payout phase. And then you set it up for lifetime income. Never have to worry about money again. That's creating your own pension. That's why you got this guy here in the pink inner tube you've seen before, enjoying himself, is he's got money coming and he's never gonna have to worry about having it again. You get to a certain point in life where you can actually, take charge of your 401k, usually 59.5, or your IRA, roll over that money into a single premium annuity or a lump sum annuity. You don't have to worry about any loss. You don't have to worry about just accepting a 4% annual payout. You can get the 6% guaranteed no loss growth. And then down the road, you get that 6% guaranteed never to run out of income as well. That sounds way better to me than just that 4%. Once again, 4 gives you 100, 6 gives you 150. That's a huge difference. So in one of the previous boot camps, I was presenting, today's topic of maximizing your retirement income and increasing your retirement security. One of the participants suggested robbing a bank. I laughed at this at first, but ironically, it's happening around the world. In Japan, older people that are of the poorer class, they can't take care of themselves, are committing petty crimes so that they can be thrown into jail. That's how crazy, and how bad it feels to be old in life, to where you are unable to really make an income and you can't make enough of an income to support yourself or your family. And so people are committing petty crimes, and then they get a roof over their head and food every day, and they can stay warm. But this is not a retirement plan, guys. If you remember only one thing out of today's and previous lessons, this is what it should be. Take the challenge of saving for retirement into your own hands. It's your responsibility. Make sure your savings are protected from losses. Jail in a government-run facility is not a good retirement option. I'm sure jail in a little apartment is not a great option either. What is your dream retirement? what would you rather be doing? I mean, let's face it, they're supposed to be called the golden years because you're supposed to have the money that you need to go and do all the amazing things that you've always dreamt of doing that you just never had the time for before. So, one of my favorite guys in the planet. I've studied his life. Was an amazing man because he had a dream. He had a dream, and he didn't take no for an answer. He didn't listen to naysayers. He didn't listen to people that put him down and told him he had no talent. He went on and he created everything he always wanted to create, and it changed the world for a lot of people. He says all of our dreams come true if we just have the courage to pursue them. And I hope you do. I hope you take this under control and you make it happen for yourself. Because when you do that, you then give other people the right to do it as well. And you set a good example for them too. One person doing the right thing in front of a lot of other people stems other people to start doing the right thing as well. This little guy, he's obviously he's obviously learning the lessons. He's saying, let's talk diversification. I got a lot of Cheerios here, but I want some goldfish and some goldfish crackers. He's understanding that, the Cheerios may take a drop and goldfish may be on the rise, and he wants to make sure he's got that diversification in his portfolio. So smart young man. And then this guy, this is obviously a little Irish kid, like myself. I was staggering home when it hit me. Why don't I just get an annuity? Why don't I just take the stress out of my financial life and work out a contract with a life insurance company to make sure that I've got a guaranteed income for the rest of my life and set myself up with my own personal private pension. So looking forward to you guys being here next week. It's been my pleasure to be with you today. Get your homework done. So important to get your homework done because that's where you learn the most about your own personal finances. And we'll be happy to see you next week. Take care, everyone.